What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk a bit about Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, what we saw at the Direct, which I would say was overwhelmingly positive. I thought they crushed it. We'll go into more detail in a second. And then the news that we got after, which I think is just plainly negative. And, I'm a man of controversy myself, so let's start with the negative stuff. And again, this was not talked about in the presentation, right? This came directly after. So let's handle this, and then we can talk more positively about the game. Just remember, all the stuff I'm about to say, the game looks phenomenal. I cannot freaking wait. If I were to rank the games I'm anticipating and looking forward to this year, Hellblade 2 is probably in my top 5. So this is a high-up game across the board of any publisher, right? Any studio. So the news is that it'll be digital only, and it'll release costing $49.99. So this is the Alan Wake 2 approach, right? This is exactly what we got from Alan Wake. You can trim down how much it costs by about $10 or so, right? And in its place, because you trimmed it down, you are in turn making it digital only, where you cannot get it physically. Now here's the deal. I honestly think this is a terrible idea. I thought it was a bad idea for Alan Wake 2, but this is going to get maybe even more controversial. Here's why it's worse, okay, for Hellblade. Number one, Hellblade 1 is not like it's not a system seller. It's not this highest selling game of all time. Not that it has to be. I'm not saying that it needs to sell 5-10 million. I'm simply kind of setting the scene, all right? This is a game that sold a couple million, right? Now, it was more PlayStation oriented, I believe, originally, right? It was PlayStation exclusive, okay? It started that way. Now, this is flipping the script, right? This is Xbox exclusive. So, is this game going to sell a couple million units? Honestly, I don't think so. I'll be flat out real, because the number one thing is it's on Game Pass. So, I'm going to get on Game Pass. This actually doesn't help it. I'll talk about that in a second. I think a lot of people are going to get this game on Game Pass versus buying it, I literally was going to say physically. That's how I think it's going to go. That's the ecosystem that Xbox has, right? Is I think Game Pass clearly is very important to them. They're pushing it. That's not a bad thing. I'm literally just saying what it is, okay? So I think this game is probably, hopefully, this game crushes it on Game Pass. And I think that's its path to getting, maybe 5, 6, 7 million players, if it can do that, right? If it doesn't do it, whatever. But if it can do it, I don't think it's going to be through copies sold. I think it would be through Game Pass. Again, that's kind of just what I'm setting up. It being digital massively, I think, hurts the buying platform for it because of the type of game it is. In fact, again, you bring in Alan Wake, it kind of reminds me of that too. This is now I think Hellblade might be a little bit bigger than Alan Wake. I'm not actually, sure on that or sold on that, but it's just kind of a vibe I get, with, I guess, Xbox, at the helm. Maybe there's a little bit bigger of a push for Hellblade, but I think they're actually two kind of comparable, franchises of critical darlings. People that play them really appreciate them. They're different. They're unique. There's a lot of similarities in that way, right? And then they just don't, again, they're not games that are going to sell 10 million, 5 million units. Alan Wake is not a seller, and neither is this game, okay? So if you're only digital, I think that wipes out a pretty okay chunk of people that would actually literally buy your game. It being on Game Pass, you could say, all right, well, Alex, people are going to buy it. Yes, but I think a game like an Alan Wake or like a Hellblade, I think its value physically is higher than other games. Does that make sense? I think the idea of getting these games in your hand physically for a game that's, I don't want to necessarily say under the radar, but a game that's a little bit more niche, right? It's kind of got like a cult following. These games are more important, I think, to have physically than a game like, say, Call of Duty. I think that maybe is better to explore, or even like Halo, or even a game like, say, Avowed or something, right? Like these kind of bigger and more, sprawling type games. I don't think that kind of market is like, they don't need it as much physically. So, I don't know, maybe long-winded way, maybe I'm confusing people, maybe I'm dragging this out too much, but I really don't like it. I think that's a terrible idea, and is it going to hurt the game? Well, again, I think most of its, people playing it, most of its player base is going to come through Game Pass anyway. So I don't know if it hurts it. I think it's just that, digital-only future that we keep talking about that I'm not a fan of, and it's annoying. Honestly, it's annoying that it's happening to some of these type of games. Why does it have to happen to the Alan Wakes and the Hellblade? Two games that, would have been top 5 most anticipated games a few years ago. Alan Wake 2 is my game of the year last year, okay? Why does that have to happen to these games? These under-the-radar, more niche kind of things. Why are these the games that it happens for? And I don't think it worked out for Alan Wake, to be honest with you. So I think in hindsight, we can kind of see clear. I don't think that was a good decision for Alan Wake. I think it hurt it. I think you would have sold more. Now, how many? I don't really know. But I do think, factually, you would have sold more copies if you put it out, physically. Okay, so that took a ton of time, and I'm sorry about that, but I had to kind of get that off my chest. And again, the game looks incredible. That's, this last part of the video here I want to focus on. I guess what's even more annoying about the negatives is it's happening to a game that looks legitimately awesome. And this game looks like it could be a game of the year kind of thing and all of that jazz. Now, the same length as its predecessor thing. So in the Direct, I remember them saying that and I think they were kind of hinting at it in the developer Direct. Very early on, they talked about making it a shorter length, like a length that they wanted to make it. And I was thinking to myself, ooh, are they kind of floating it out there that this is going to be a super short game? So Hellblade 1, I mean, it's only 4, 5, 6 hours, right? This is not a massive game. So this is going to be the length of Hellblade 2. For me, I don't really care. Not a big deal. It's quality over quantity. If the game is 5 hours and it's something that I've never really played before, which just the sound, just putting on the headphones and hearing, the sound 360 that they did so well in the first game. And they talked about it more in the Direct here, right? Not just the voices in her head. It's really all sound. As much sound as they can do is going to be, I guess, immersive, in that way. Visually, this game looks, 10 out of 10. The combat, I mean, controversially in a good way, I'm actually kind of a fan of how the combat looks. Look, the first game is not for the gameplay, right? You don't play Hellblade 1 to get immersed in the gameplay. And you could definitely look at that as a negative. I think it probably is a negative, right? This game, it's definitely, I wouldn't say it's gameplay focused. It's still, I think, everything else first. But gameplay, it looks visceral. It looks cool to me. I really like it. And I like, they're saying all the right things. I just hope it kind of comes through, right? Because they're saying things like they want every battle, they want you to come out of it thinking, oh, I just made it out of that fight. Now, a lot of games say that. Not every game, but I've definitely heard that before. And the sad thing is most times they don't pull it off, right? I think it's a pretty, you're walking on a tightrope, and it's a very specific thing you kind of have to do, and it doesn't always happen, but I think they can do it. And making every fight truly feel okay, this is a do or die kind of moment. That is tough, but I do think they can pull it off. And they also talked about each fight they want to make feel, different from the one before, the one after. So I'm okay with that. I'm a fan of it. The game, again, overwhelmingly looks good. I'm excited for it. It's still one of my most anticipated games of the year. It got the date, so May 21st is now confirmed. Excellent. Now we got a game, late May. We don't really have anything for May, except for Hellblade, so that's totally cool. So yeah, overwhelmingly, what we saw at the Direct, love it. I love the behind-the-scenes stuff, especially for a game like this where you see the girls, right? They're talking, and they're, rotating around the microphone. That, it's just so cool. And again, this game does stuff different than, you don't have that. How many games do you see behind the scenes that do that, where you have to have that kind of 360 vibe with the voices, coming in every direction? This is the only game. That's what made the first game stand out, honestly. So I think they're going to nail it. I think the length is probably going to make people pretty upset. I can see why to an extent, even if I don't agree. I definitely don't agree with it, but I understand that people would probably get mad. And like I said, the digital only thing, that really ticks me off. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.